gentlemen, welcome to this very special edition of COASTER-net TV. All we're going to do tonight is talk about the brand new opening of Cedar Point Shores at the world-famous Cedar Point. We had last night. They had some, fundraising events going on. This weekend, they have the season pass holder preview with the opening to the general public. And we had our very own correspondent here, Mr. Waterparker. You were there at the fundraising event to benefit the LeBron James Family Foundation. And you were there to experience this new water park for the very first time. You were one of the first people to actually get to walk through the gates. So we have a few different topics that we're going to talk to you about. But Waterparker, why don't you introduce yourself first and maybe talk a little bit about your experience in water parks, because your name is Waterparker, so you would figure you got a little bit of history, right?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Andy. Guys don't know me. Yes, I am the Waterparker, the one and the only. I've been a lifelong water park enthusiast, starting off Blizzard Beach. I've been going to big ones like Blizzard Beach, Typhoon Lagoon, a lot of places like Cedar Point Shores now. My home water park is Kings Island, Soak City, even though I wish it was Holiday World Splash and Safari. Man, I love that place. But yeah, I've been a lifelong water park enthusiast. I've been able to go on various slide complexes from Pro Slide, from Whitewater West. You won't hear Andy talk about them mostly because I don't know if you guys know many water park companies, but yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about this, Andy, tonight. So let's start it off.
Yeah, so, the event last night was to benefit the LeBron James Family Foundation. For a small fee, you could enter this water park. So why don't you give us some of your first impressions? Because we know that they've put a lot of work into not only revamping the old Soak City at Cedar Point, rebranding it to Cedar Point Shores, but they've also updated the Magnum Midway. They've updated the entrance to Cedar Point Shores. So give us some of your first impressions as you were driving into not only the peninsula, but also into the water park.
Yeah, so driving into the peninsula, it was rainy. If you guys don't know, in Sandusky, it was very wet and very rainy. Of course, it's going to be proper for a Waterparker excursion, Cedar Point, to their new water park. But, driving in, I'm looking over, I'm seeing the slide complex. And before I came to see that, I see Cedar Point's Mean Streak. Oh, we don't know.
What's that? What's that?
But it's looking very exciting, and that's what really, in all honesty, that's what I was like to look at before. But when I got up, we drove past, we parked over at Hotel Breakers, and then I walked up. And the beauty of Cedar Point Shores right now is the fact that they sort of have the Kings Island feel somewhat, with the slide complex being in front, quote unquote, front of the park. So they have two new entrances. New, quote unquote, one being right next to the new body slides and tube slides, and then another one next to where the original one is. It's the main Cedar Point Shores entrance. So we had to go use the Cedar Point Shores entrance, but when I'm walking on in, they have these little beach balls in front, and then they have a classic, I want to say like a classic New England style sign that says "Welcome to Cedar Point Shores." And when I walked in, they gave me this beautiful, amazing lanyard. And they also gave me, I want to show this to the crowd tonight, Andy, this beautiful tote that has Cedar Point Shores branding as well. Not to mention I got a new towel. They rolled out the red carpet for us for this VIP charity event. And, walking in, I knew Cedar Point Soak City originally was sort of looking a little bit lacking and looking a little bit dry. But I can tell you with the fact that Cedar Point Shores looks lively and well. I mean, to the left, you have the new Lemmy's Lagoon that has gotten some really cool new slides and some really cool, nice little things for the kids to do, including, of course, as you have already predicted before, they do have the Lake Erie Monster. Finally get out.
That Lake Erie Monster, I almost feel that they purposely watched our show debunking Valraven that we were completely wrong about. I'm not saying that we weren't. And I feel that they purposefully put Lemmy, the Lake Erie Monster, in there just to troll us. There's really no other explanation in my mind as to why that's there. Because they I just find it hysterical. But, like you were saying that, they've in the recent years they've tried to update Soak City with new paint. Because you may not recall this, but I used to go to Soak City back when it was only on one side of Magnum. I attended Soak City. That I was there for the extra expansion where they added the Renegade River and the Family Slide and some of those black tube slides in the wave pool in the back. I was there before all that, and it was kind of drab. It was all tan. Every single slide was tan. A few years back. They added Dragster H2O. They painted all the slides to make it more vibrant in colors. So that kind of helped. But I think, like you said, that this taking it to the next level now of completely rebranding this park into Cedar Point Shores. And I know one of the things that they tried to do, that if you followed their development here, was they tried to tie it to the locale, to the location, to the beach. That they're trying to bring back that history. I'm thinking in preparation for the 150th anniversary, that it kind of makes sense that they want to be able to tie all this together. And Soak City was always off by itself. Some people went there. A lot of people criticized whether or not it was a good enough water park to even attend. Most of the park goers didn't usually go. It was more of a thing for the hotel guests to do on their 2-day ride and slide ticket. But now I feel that we're finally getting to the point where, maybe it's not, a world-class water park, but I think it's getting to the point where maybe it is becoming a water park that, it's something more than just for hotel guests. Maybe it's something for park guests to start coming over and doing. Maybe it's something for even people not going to Cedar Point and just going to the water park, where usually that was unheard of. Other parks have that. If you look at the Cedar Fair chain, what I find to be interesting a lot is a lot of the parks, people go just for the water park, and they ignore the dry side of everything. They ignore the roller coasters at Carowinds and Valley Fair a lot of times, and Michigan's Adventure. They ignore the roller coasters and go to the water park. This is a completely foreign idea to me. I know you, Waterparker, are pretty big on maybe this concept.
I've been on this train ever since day one, Andy. And, talking about what you're saying with the vintage style, they actually had some of these old classic signs. Mm-hmm. I wish I took more photos of these, but it looked like similar to what they had in front of Hotel Breakers. Yeah. And it just felt like I was on a beach in New Jersey. It felt like I was back in a classic lakefront feel that I'm actually back in the 1920s. Even though I know that it's 2017, I think it's a great step in theming, without a doubt.
Yeah, so for sure, that's that first impression, I think that whole feel to it, and like you said, that even before, I grew up going to Cedar Point, so everything was very common to me. I knew everything, but if I was a first time goer to the park, there was nothing to draw you into the water park. There was no real good signage. Everything was kind of dated in the classic Cedar Fair style with the blue roofs everywhere. So now with the signage and this theme, I think you're going to pull a lot more people in. I do find it funny though. The one ironic thing that I think has happened here is Soak City, the old name of the park, was the only Soak City anywhere. And when they bought the old Paramount parks, they were either Boomerang Bay or something different. And Cedar Fair has gone around and changed all the theming at Knott's and at Kings Island to Soak City, and now the original Soak City is Cedar Point Shores. So you wonder, are they going to retheme everything again, or was that done on purpose? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. If this is successful, if people have a good reaction to this, I think we might see a little bit more flair in the water parks. Maybe they want to do more themes, more interesting names. So let's move on into the event itself now, Waterparker. Cedar Fair is kind of known for, when they do these big fundraising events, for maybe putting out a pretty good spread of food. So what did you have for dinner before you got to sliding?
Let me just say for the record, I held off on having lunch to come to the Cedar Point Shores.
Yes.
event. Now, no, I will say this, I did have a little snack, a little apple strudel on the way, so, I'm sorry. But, when I got there, they had this area. Now, I don't know what it was originally called, but it's like a little pavilion right next in the main plaza, so to speak. They had a centerpiece with Cedar Point Shores etched in on ice, which are really starting to become a norm with Cedar Fair. They're putting in like ice sculptures.
Yes, they love the good ice sculpture.
Oh yeah. Below that was a spread of like shrimp and crab legs. Now, if you guys know me, I love my shrimp. Mm-hmm. I've grown up on shrimp. And I got myself a couple of that delicious shrimp. I'm sorry, I really love shrimp. But then I got a little bit of macaroni cheese, a little bit of potato wedges. Just a little bit of here and there. And I got what they call an Asian salad. And I got the dressing next to it. Really good spread. I really enjoyed it. And again, it was under the rain. But I will say this, Andy, talking about the food area, they had a lot of mayflies around.
Oh, and this is the bad time for mayflies there. The whole month of May is usually pretty bad. So I could imagine. I've been at a few Coaster Manias where the mayflies get into the mac and cheese and make you not want to eat it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Overall, I enjoyed it. I think it was a great spread. But, moving along here a little bit to the, what they're talking about here is the Jordan Foundation. Now, if you guys don't know, Cedar Fair with the charities, they did this last year, I believe, with Valhaven, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They've actually, this is now the third year that they have partnered with the LeBron James Family Foundation. They did it last year with Valhaven, but the first time they did it was actually for Rougarou. They had an auction, or not an auction. It was an auction for Rougarou. They've kind of moved away from the auction concept in recent years and just did a flat fee to attend the fundraising event. Last year, Valhaven was very well attended. Rougarou was pretty well attended as well. Both of those events, pretty cool things to do. So this is now the third year that they're partnering with LeBron James and to bring money to his group of kids that are underprivileged inside the city of Cleveland.
Well, so they had a little stage set up. They had a Charlie Brown and a Sally come out. Oh. I believe it's her name, Sally. And some classic pool wear, and then they later brought out Snoopy. But, they had Jason McClure and Tony. They came out, they talked a little bit for a few, and then they introduced the Jordan Foundation, some of the kids who were there who are part of the Jordan Foundation, talking about how, the money really changes what they're able to do. They were bringing up things like they went down to New Orleans for the tornadoes. Okay. They're able to help out. And I think that's pretty cool in the fact that, Cedar Fair reaches out to some of these charities and are like, hey, let us help you, and let's have some fun doing so. And I thought that was a brilliant way of sharing in the family fun of Cedar Fair. And, to help commemorate that, what they announced is that, they have this thing called dropping dimes in basketball. Yeah. And for every single time that someone drops from the aqua drop, as they call it, of Point Plummet, which you guys don't know is the new slide complex they have. Every single time that someone drops, they're going to donate a dime to the Jordan Foundation. And with the 100,000th, I believe, rider on Point Plummet, they will get a 4-pack of platinum passes to Cedar Point. So I thought that was a really interesting way to bring guests back into the park, bring people to ride Point Plummet over and over again.
Absolutely. That should be pretty interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how long that takes, because the water park, like you said, it was a cold and rainy day. The water park is highly dependent upon the weather, whereas, you go to a theme park and sometimes you can get away with having a colder day, having, a day that's a little bit rainy. You can get away with having a pretty good day, but water parks aren't so lucky usually. You have any bit of rain and it kind of ruins the entire experience. So being that it was being so cold, why don't you talk about, the main event here and talk about the new slides that you got to ride? How would you compare these to other slides you have ridden? We know, we're not hiding anything here. We know that these are pretty much clones of what many other Cedar Fair parks have gotten. What's a little bit different? Tell us some of the differences.
Well, let me start off talking about the cold part that you've been discussing. It was very cold. Trust me. I was out in just my swimming trunks, and I was out there, and it was freezing. Yeah. And I could tell you for sure that, with the lake breeze, with the rain, it was cold. But the new slide complex, the beauty of it is the fact that the water is heated.
Ooh.
That's something to where, if you do have one of those cold, rainy days, like last year was for Kings Island, Silk City, Tropical Plunge preview day, it's not going to be that bad. Now, of course, when you get out of the water, it's still going to be cold, but at least when you're in the water, it's not like, holy cow, I am freezing my butt off.
Yeah.
But, talking about the slide complex themselves, something that's different with this slide complex in comparison to other ones is the fact that usually, at least for the Kings Island edition, we had 3 aqua drops, and then we had 3 tube slides. 2 being the usual, one that goes 2 drops, then 1 that goes single drop. Then 1 slide that goes on a curve. Well, this edition, instead we have 4 body slides that drop, and then we have 2 regular tube slides. Again, the double drop and then the single drop. What I realized is that, first off, if I could just say this for the record, being on top of Point Plummet and looking over to your right and seeing Magnum, looking to your left, seeing the lake, it's stunning. It is beautiful. If you're looking for some great coaster shots, just get on top of Point Plummet. Now, of course, don't go and, do that when you're not supposed to be. Yeah. But, I mean, it's just a beautiful landscape. But what I learned and what I found out personally was that the green and yellow are the more tame ones. And green is more like a shorter one. I believe yellow is a little bit longer than the others. Purple's more like a medium speed, and then blue is the top speed, which is similar to what we saw with Kings Island's editions, because with Kings Island, the blue was more G's, and the green was more of a drop. However, this time it's sort of opposite. I believe these slides in whole are amazing. I've always said this. If you guys watch the Waterpark recap, you guys, and that's a show I'm a host of, if you guys watch that, you'll know that I love drop boxes. I love slides that drop me. And it's just like, when I got to ride them for the first time with Kings Island, Silk City, they were amazing. Absolutely stunning. Every single one's beautiful. And the same for this. These slides, 10 out of 10. I love them. They're high speed. It's at adrenaline when you're standing up there looking down. And the beauty of this, I don't know if you've ridden any drop boxes.
I have never ridden a drop box. I've been on quite a few slides. It's not like I hate water parks. I've been on quite a few slides in my life, in my time, but I've not done the drop box slide yet. So that's the one thing I haven't done.
Well, the beauty of a drop box is the fact that you step into this capsule, right? When you look down, it's clear plexiglass.
Yeah.
You can see the drop.
Really?
And it's that anticipation. Yeah. So every single time I get in, and even though I know that I'm going to be fine, I step into these slide boxes, and I'm looking down and I'm thinking to myself, do I want to do this still, or do I want to walk? Do I want to take the walk of shame and take the chicken way out? No, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to go down. But, getting back up there, and I believe that Cedar Point has a special flair with their slides, because when you look out, you can look out of the slide boxes, of course, but when you look out, you see the lake. And you see the water park. And I believe that's an amazing, fantastic way to encapsulate about what's the new Cedar Point Shores.
Yeah.
And then when you go through the slide, something that's different that I don't really remember from the other ones. I have to go recheck this Saturday, tomorrow, about our installation from Whitewater West. But when you go through, part of it's somewhat translucent. So, you could see it's a little bit opaque, of course. You can see the sun coming in, right?
Yeah.
But when you get into the final parts of it, it's enclosed, like a usual tube slide would be, or usual body slide or whatever. And I thought that was really interesting, because that's, I know some people who do not like enclosed body slides. And I understand, it's just it's that anticipation. But I can assure you, with this, it's like when you're about to finish out. That the end is coming and the end is near. But to round out the body slides, I believe they're fun. Every single one of them are a fantastic addition. I believe they're all really fast. They're all really exciting, because with the body slides, they curve around.
Yeah.
And it's just like left and right, left and right. I think it's a really fantastic way to go and show off, Cedar Point Shores, because when you look up from the queue, it looks like a wave. If you look at it a certain way, it looks like a little bit of water ripples. So moving away from that, however, let's go down to the tube slides. The tube slides are actually a little bit different than what we have over at Kings Island, Silk City, because our tube slides, they have, I call it like the snake rings, but like there's rings that are like translucent, and you'll see like green, red, pink, blue, yellow, whatever. Yeah. And it's really cool. I think it's a really cool experience. But with Cedar Point Shores, it's pure black. You can't see out. So that gives a little bit more of a thrill factor. But then when you come out, same exact way, you go down double dip, then you go down full dip. Two very fun tube slides. I will say that I believe that overall the slide complex did not need that little extra tiny slide. Yeah. Because when you go and look at it, it's built for mainly thrill. And not as so much as, the family aspect, because that final little slide was a turnaround. That's more like a family attraction. Yeah. But with most of the slides now, it's more like, going into a thrill, tween and forward. But, again, a commending view from the slides. And I think it's a really cool slide complex in whole. Talking a little bit more.
Well, do you have any other... Well, just thinking about your view concept, what's interesting about that is really none of the slides ever looked out onto the lake. The only real slide that you would ever, I guess, the family tube slide is the only one that really faces the lake this way. This is really the first slide complex that is facing out towards the lake and not in towards the water park and towards the dry park.
Like, the way that it's facing is like you look directly out, and ahead of you, you have drive straight 2-0. Yeah. But when you're standing off to the side, and if you look a little bit to your right or look a little bit straight, you still see the lake. Yeah. And, that's a commending view, in my opinion. Yeah. And I understand what you're talking about there.
And all the rest of the slides do not have that. That when you walk up to the side, you basically, the slide itself is blocking your view of the lake. Whereas instead of inviting you to see the lake, it's actually doing quite the opposite. So that's pretty interesting that you brought that up, to be able to see that. And it is a completely different view of the park because it's the first slide complex to actually flush that way.
Mm-hmm. And, going on to some of the other attractions, they did go and repaint some of the attractions. Like, I forget that's the enclosed tube slides. Yeah. And then the family slide. Yeah. They put up a new tarp next to it to make it look like a beach scene. Then, of course, they had Limmy's Lagoon, like what we discussed, and as Lake Erie Monster and a couple of sand castles. And if you're really looking, if you have kids, they do have a couple small slides, so that way you can start to swing them in, get them into some of the smaller slides before getting on some of the larger slides when they grow up, get older. So I think that was a really interesting little addition as well. They did go, and like I said before, they did go and repaint a lot of the slides, a lot of the attractions. I think it looks fresh and nice. Yeah. So yeah. Andy, do you have any last questions for me?
Well, just wrapping it up here, you've traveled to a lot of places. How eager are you to now? Because I know in the past people have said, well, Cedar Point, Soak City was a skip. That it was a place that you could just bypass and just ignore. How eager are you to now return to Cedar Point Shores? Based on everything that you have available to you.
Well, if I could just be honest with you, Andy, I was one of those people. Before, that was one of the main, when people ask me what brings me to the parks, I always tell them, do you have a water park? It's just like, if I don't have a big water park, then why should I even go? And with Cedar Point, it's not as big as other water parks. It's not as big as Kings Island. I can give you that. My opinion is just like Cedar Point Shores and Kings Island, Kings Island, Silk City. They both have their perks and they both have their detractors. However, with this new water park expansion, I believe it gives more people the opportunity to say that this actually has water slides that are above and beyond what I need to go to a water park. being that I've been to Blizzard Beach, Typhoon Lagoon, Kings Island, Silk City, Holiday World, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I can say for a fact that if I could, I would go to Cedar Point Shores. Because you have, in all honesty, I think this is what Cedar Point was lacking, was a good body slide complex, a good family slide. You know, just a way for families to come on out and have fun. And I believe that Cedar Point Shores has room for expansion now.
Yeah.
Because not only, it's not only that, you have the old, what did you call it? It was the Action Park.
Yeah.
Or the
Challenge Park. Yeah.
Challenge Park, right. Instead of having that and the way now it's open, now it feels more free and fresh. And I believe this is going to be a great way for Cedar Point to start to develop into, 2020 into the year when they have their, big anniversary. I believe that it's a great place because you have the beach, which a lot of people, even when I first went to Cedar Point, instead of going to Silk City, what did I do? I went to the beach.
Yeah.
You have the beach real close. You have hotel breakers. You have a fresh, renewed outlook of the water park. I believe that if you're a water park enthusiast, if you've been breaking away from going to Cedar Point, definitely go to Cedar Point. It has the attractions. It has the leadway. It's not going to be your Holiday World, Safari. It's not going to be your Silk City, Kings Island. But
it doesn't. The issue is it just doesn't have the space to do those things. That when you look at it, we're talking about, well, where are they going to fit, the 2020 attraction, and where are they going to fit, the next big roller coaster? The peninsula only has a limited amount of space. So the water park has always been the afterthought, but now that they're putting that money and that emphasis there, even little improvements can really make that be somewhere that people might want to really consider going to, on a yearly trip to Cedar Point. There's not many years that I have not gone to Silk City on my Platinum Pass. I usually try to make at least one stop there. During the year. But I think now finally Cedar Point Shores is getting that branding, that theme, and now with these Dropbox slides, getting slides that arguably have been made in the last 10 years. That you look at their other collection and they just got mat racers a few years ago, and then the slides mostly were there since the early 90s. So now we're finally getting this new technology into the park, and maybe we'll see even more of that new technology into the future. Jaga Lake has a lot of slides sitting around doing nothing. So you wonder if those are going to make their way over, or maybe to another park like Kings Island or Michigan's Adventure. So we'll see what happens. But Waterparker, we'll definitely have to have you back on. I hear you might be taking a trip down to Orlando to experience another water park that may have opened up yesterday.
If they can master Tapu Tapu, I might be making a special trip. Who knows? They can get those lines a little bit more down.
Here's the question, Waterparker. Did you have to wait 4 hours to get on the slides at Cedar Point Shores?
Oh, no, I was waiting like a minute because I had to walk, and then I took a break real quick.
Yeah, there were no 4-hour waits at Cedar Point Shores, so that makes it better in my book automatically. So maybe when you get a chance to go down there, we'll have you back on to talk to you a little bit about the new Volcano Bay that everyone's talking about lately. But once again, thank you for joining us here tonight. I am, of course, Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm the Waterparker from beautiful Cincinnati.
And as always, ride on, Ride Warriors.
Stay tropical.